Hi there, Glocal citizens. It's Florence Adu again, your host for the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around doing something in the world. This week, I'm coming to you from London in the United Kingdom. I'm here with a very inspirational and talented gentleman. His name is Kwame Acheampong. Did I say that right?
Yes, you said that right.
I said it well, right?
Very, very well.
Kwame is sound engineer by training and by passion. He is also the COO of linkcommerce.com. And he is a serial entrepreneur by my estimation. He has been at the lead of a few different very dynamic organizations, which you'll know and hear more about in our conversation. And I think I'll leave my introduction here and take it away, Kwame. Tell us more about you and what you do.
Oh, about me? Well, I guess the simple way or the complex way, I don't even know where to start. But I guess I'll just start from the beginning. I started my career, you want to call it a career, as a sound engineer. And I was fortunate enough to just about experience it from a professional side at the tail end before things started going very digital and music production became, digital, I should say, and very singular. And what I mean by that, when we started music back in the day, it was a very collaborative in recordings, huge recording studios where, everybody had their position. It was a really collaborative effort. Whereas nowadays, it's basically someone in the bedroom behind a laptop. And back then, it was really team spirit, and it was happy days. So yeah, I just managed to get the tail end of it before everything started going down south.
So that was probably through the early 2000s, right?
No, late 90s.
Late 90s, okay.
Before MP3 came.
Oh, okay.
When MP3 came, everything started going down the drain.
Got it. Because of the volume that you could produce.
It's just people started sharing songs and everything became more digital. It became more affordable. So people started having studios at home. And also the production of music became much cheaper.
Got it.
And also people were not buying records anymore and stuff like that because you could now just copy things very easily. Whereas before you couldn't really copy a vinyl.
Right.
You had to buy a vinyl.
Right. Or what we did is we played the record and then recorded it on a tape.
Yes. But still, yes.
Yeah.
But it was not that easy copyable. But you couldn't play a tape in a club and stuff like that.
Right,
Whereas
exactly.
now, you can play MP3s everywhere. And having studied engineering, business and computing, I was always the forefront of technology. So I could actually see it coming. So I did my last stint, which was with a guy called Bootsy Collins, and it was my last thing, which just left me on a high. And after that, actually, no.
He was like a father of the funk.
Yeah. So I did this comeback album,
okay.
Straight out of P University, which was great. But actually, we did it in Germany.
Straight out of P University?
Yeah.
Straight out of the P-Funk University?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that involved him, and there was MC Light as well and stuff like that. So I worked on a track with him and MC Light.
Sure.
What track was it? Anyway, it's on that album. And then, yeah.
We'll put that in the show notes, folks.
Yeah, put it in the show notes.
P-Funk University.
Yeah, so, and then I did a small stint in Vegas with Gladys Knight. And then I decided to come back to the UK and basically go into 9 to 5. So yeah, I left it on a high and it was great. So, I just straight from that, luckily for me, at that point in time, there was a new movement called new media, which was basically the combination of sound, visuals and graphics and authoring on CD-ROMs. That became the new, that thing called digital showreels were done on that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Remember. Yeah.
So it was a great big craze and a big organization. So, okay, how could we take that to advantage? And that's the whole thing when the whole authoring came, whereby, for those who know the CBT, computer-based training. Yeah. So obviously my background in computing, programming and sound gave me a lucky break to work for a company called Anderson Consulting. And I was...
Now Accenture, right?
Yeah, now Accenture, yeah. So I was part of the management consulting team, straight from music into management consulting.
Right.
Basically visiting blue chips and creating basically change management documentation.
Sure.
And from that, converting it into computer-based training. So make it much more dynamic instead of just reading a big, boring handbook.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got my foot into the corporate world, the blue chip corporate world, which I think, I don't know, I guess it was a lucky break. I was at the right place at the right time. So I did that. And then kind of got bored of that. And I thought I might just try investment banking.
You got bored of consulting and became an investment banker.
Well, not investment banker, but I was on the tech side.
Industry. Okay.
Yeah, so it was more on the trading side of things.
Sure.
Trading floors, trading systems.
Mm-hmm.
Again, technology and business.
Yep.
So I've always been tech and business. And then I did that for a year again. And then the .com boom came.
Right.
And so I wanted a piece of that.
Okay.
Because, you know, it's not having to wear a suit, just getting your jeans and sneakers and, you know, having free food was great.
I remember those days.
I got a piece of that. So,
I remember those days. It was fun times at the launch parties.
Yeah. So I, again, had a lucky break. And that's because my first language is German, because I was brought up in Switzerland as part of my youth and stuff. So there was a company called DoubleClick, which most of you might have seen or not heard, but when you click on something, you will see doubleclick.com, and that is us. Yeah. So DoubleClick, I was one of the founding employees in the UK office, so I was at the very beginning, and basically DoubleClick is the company that invented online advertising in terms of banner technology and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So those were I think my best years where I learned a lot. I was traveling the world 24/7. I was hardly in London, basically just rolling out the technology around the world. I mean, from London down to India, Russia, name it. I was there. I was one of the teams. So, and basically, what we at my team was an engineering team, and we created all the new features. Even one of the features that my team created is what you see now on Google, the post-roll and pre-roll. So when you watch YouTube video, the ad that comes before it and in between.
Oh, okay.
That is my team that we built that. And so obviously the reason why is Google, because Google bought us.
Right. Yeah, and that happened in
2007, 2000.
Okay.
They bought us, so they bought us for about $4 billion.
Got it.
So it was a nice payout.
Right.
So then I had to work for Google for a while just to work my notice. I couldn't wait to get out quick.
Sure.
Yeah. So I left Google, and then, I didn't leave Google. I got approached by a client that I set up when I was at DoubleClick. And this guy is a company called HD Pool, and they were Eastern European network. And basically I helped them set up, and with my blueprints, they became the biggest ad network in Eastern Europe. So they wanted someone to open the UK operation. Mm-hmm. And
you were here.
They came for me and said, listen, I know you and Google, you want to leave, you want to leave. And basically they wanted me to open the UK operation, be the managing director for the UK. And that's what happened. I left Google, and then I joined them, and I opened the UK office. And I think that was my sort of like my first gig in actually opening a proper office for a proper company and having like this. It was quite daunting, but it was interesting time to learn a lot from that.
So so they were the biggest ad
network
in Eastern Europe?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason why they wanted to open the UK office is because most of the ad spend or ad budget
was coming from
UK.
Here. Got it.
So before them, and this is quite interesting point, is that if company wanted to do an ad campaign online or digital in Eastern Europe, they would have to go to different countries to strike different deals.
Ah, okay.
Right. But because we were in all those countries,
they came to.
So now it's much better for you to come to one single point in the UK,
right?
At one point, and then we did disseminate it across the whole of Eastern Europe. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's how we won the business, and that's how we won Facebook. So I still got stakes in there. We basically represent Facebook, LinkedIn, and everything in that region. Mm-hmm. So if you want to advertise on the Facebook and stuff like that, they come through us.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's it. But then again, something turned. The development team for HD Pool was, what shall I say? They developed a payment system for Eastern Europe called Megapause, right? And around about that time, ecommerce was booming, bringing up. But the fact that in Ghana or West Africa, basically, people couldn't buy shop online because of payment issues and stuff like that. That was about 2010.
Right.
And there was no PayPal in Africa or in Ghana and stuff like that. So I said, why not? I'm going to create something PayPal for Ghana. And that's where we came up with a company called Prof.
Okay.
And basically, I told the guys at HD Pool, listen, why don't we go into Africa? And he said, yeah, why not? We've done the UK stuff. Let's close the UK office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
right, because by then everything you could do without having a presence.
Yes,
like
because
everything was online like properly by that time. Got it.
So we done the deals here and we didn't need it. So they said, okay, they'll back me. So basically I came up with a sweat equity deal and HD Pool basically gave me the tech team to build the payment gateway for Ghana.
Okay.
Because Prof. And then we had a private equity company, Serengeti, that put money in as well. And we had a few people coming in and basically built the platform. And it did pretty well, actually. You know, we signed up House of Fraser, Argos, a few big stores that wanted to get into Africa. And basically we were doing it for them. So it's kind of like PayPal, but with all the local payment options, which PayPal wasn't given at the time, and they were not there anyway, plus logistics. So we did all the logistics as well.
In terms of getting the goods to the buyers.
Yeah, so even if you were in Ghana or Nigeria or somewhere like that, then you had a card, maybe an expert, and you could shop online. Even if it went through at that time, we usually wouldn't because the merchants would block anything coming from Africa, any payment.
Right.
Yeah, but if you managed to get through with a VPN and circumvent that, they wouldn't ship. Because they didn't know how to get it to you.
Right.
There's no addresses and stuff like that. And they couldn't verify the card against the address and all that. So they wouldn't ship.
Right, of course.
So obviously, us coming up with a payment gateway was great, but we had to find a way to do it. And that's why the merchant liked us, because what happens is when you pay us in Ghana or Nigeria, you pay us and we then settle the merchant in the UK or in the US. And then basically, they don't have to worry about Forex. And also their shipping is to do with the UK because they ship to our UK warehouse.
Got it.
And then we did freight for it back to Ghana, Nigeria.
Got it. So let me take a pivot right there because you started talking about West Africa. So up until then, your experience was a bit US with the music potentially and UK with the tech and the business side. Ghana, you're Ghanaian.
Yes.
So tell us more about, and you mentioned that you grew up in Switzerland. So tell us a little bit more about that, your background in that sense, and some of your inspiration.
Do you know what? Actually, that's a big piece I missed out, so what drove me to go back to Ghana, really, to actually understand the market is, in 2000, there was this movement in the UK or especially France by a guy called Bob Sinclair. And guys, they were doing this house music called Africanism. Africanism. And basically what these guys were doing, they'll take this house loop and get some African sort of drums and samples and put it on top of it and call it like Africanism.
Okay. I mean, I remember Bob Sinclair.
Yeah. And I'm like, hold on a second. Yeah. This is not right. It's just so not right, right?
Right.
So that was around 2002, 2009. And I said, you know what? I got to go back to Ghana and record real African music.
Okay, yeah.
So having worked at Double Click and being there, I was quite flexible. I could work from anywhere. So during my holidays and stuff, I would go to Ghana with a whole portable recording studio and basically record music and then put it on top of house music, but it's real music. And I call it Afroganic.
Okay, yeah. Afroganic.
So Afroganic became quite massive. So I know how to build websites and everything like that. So obviously recording in Ghana, but actually the inspiration came from the way I recorded. It came from Paul Simon, Graceland.
Yeah.
You remember when he went to South Africa?
Yes.
I recorded that. So I did the same thing. I just went to Ghana, I recorded and recorded and recorded. I didn't record songs. I just recorded materials.
Right.
Just materials.
Right.
Flutes, drums, the whole 9 yards, basically hours of it, days of it. And then I came to London into my studio and sat there for hours at night and just putting an album together from all the elements, but this is like real elements. Right. So when the album came together and the tracks were out, literally we're in the charts in the UK. And I think that time we were the only African people actually I could say from Ghana in the dance charts here.
Sure.
So especially dance charts in Ibiza and all that kind of stuff. Even the BBC picked it up, and to this day I still get royalties from stuff they have picked up.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was one track called Ghana Sweet, was massive, and another track called Yanni. and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that inspired me to go back to Ghana. And, whilst I was there, I tried to buy stuff online. I couldn't buy stuff online, and everything was just, nothing was working, And then I think that's when I started, something needs to be done. But I didn't know what. But anyway, so Africanic, we did Africanic, and basically, the website is still there, africanic.com is still there, which I haven't touched that website like 10 years now, but it's still there.
But can you buy music there?
Yeah, I think maybe 3, but yeah, I haven't updated it for like 10 years or 15 years yet. But the way I did it, basically, it's a one-man show, basically, and I kind of shot myself in the foot.
Why?
Because it did so well over here. And obviously showing all these artists and stuff. I had as a guy called Dede Mabiako, he's part of Fela's group and all that kind of stuff. It looked all grand. Yeah.
Oh, so it looked bigger.
Yeah. So then they came to me.
Larger than life.
They wanted me to come and do shows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I tried. But being here and being the artists in Ghana, trying to rally them together to do stuff, it just didn't work. Right. So I really lost out at that opportunity. So I kind of parked it, but then I didn't want to kill the brand again. I don't know. By chance, I went to a launch of a guy called Jean-Michel Jarre.
Okay.
Yeah, he did this thing called Aero at Warner Brothers, and I met a guy called.
Is he Francophone?
No, Jean-Michel is a French electronic musician. Okay. He's the one who did the biggest show in Tiananmen Square.
Oh, okay.
Jean-Michel Jarre, he's massive. He's a pioneer of electronic music, electronic shows, laser shows, and all that kind of stuff, yeah. So anyway, through that, I met a guy called, some A&R guy from Sony. And it was around about the time when there was the Pop Idol. And
the Idol show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this girl won it, Fantasia.
Okay, yep.
So I don't know how it came about, but I pitched that I want to do one track for her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and the guy, and he looked at my stuff and said, yeah, can you do that? And I said, yeah, I can give you some real organic R&B kind of stuff. It's okay, well, so he gave me the track, the vocals, and said, okay, well, let's see what you can do. Mm-hmm. So I went back to Ghana that day, and basically I sat down in my living room in Ghana. Remember, I had my bassist Alaji come in. I had my guitarist come in. I put a drum loop on. I synced her vocals to that, and we basically jammed. The track was done within an hour. I mean, big. And then I put it to Sony, and basically they took it, and it became number one, Billboard number one.
So which song was that?
When I See You.
Oh.
So I did Side B. And funny enough.
That song is.
Yeah. And funny enough, coincidental, the person who produced the original and wrote it, guess who it was? Guess whose name?
I have no idea.
Polka Dot Nation, remember?
No.
Kwame.
The
rapper, Kwame.
Who we called Kwame.
Kwame, yes.
Yeah.
So he wrote the original. He wrote it. He put the original track, and I did the B remix.
So Kwame squared.
Yeah, it's what a coincidence. And then he became number one, Billboard number one, and from then I just worked at the pioneer. So at day I was in Google. At night I was in the studio.
Wow. Okay.
So I did from there. I did Fantasia, I did Jasmine Sullivan, I did John Legend, I did Greenlight for John Legend, and Every Day with Legend. I did Spotlight for Jennifer Hudson. Jennifer Lopez, I did 2 of her tracks, Hold On, Hold Tight, Hang Tight, and I did Westlife, I did Jamie Oliver. It just started pouring in. Chris Brown, I did his Wall-to-Wall track, I did John Kingston, When I See You.
So when do you sleep? When were you sleeping?
I wasn't sleeping.
Saying by day you were
I wasn't sleeping.
at Google.
And then at night, literally. So literally my social work life at Google was non-existent. And people say, oh, after work, let's go to the pub. I said, no. Right. So I didn't really, to sometimes I regret that I didn't really do much work socializing because a lot of people now from there they went into bigger things, and I wasn't really
because that was the nature, and that is the nature.
Yeah, so my Google network my double click on Google network didn't really flourish that much because I was doing stuff after work. I was not really socializing work, which I would have loved to, But hey, I had all
but
this.
this was. I mean, how do you choose?
Yeah, and he paid the bills, you know,
right?
and he paid the bills, you know,
or
yeah. But it was not just; it was just the legacy of stuff doing, and you know, and obviously that opportunity doesn't come by one all the time. So you know, I did that, and yeah, we was just knocking out tracks every day. It was crazy, and I mean, obviously, I ended up getting, you know, it was a great time. And then obviously, Google bought us.
So let's go back to the music, because how did you choose? I mean, coming from a Ghanaian family,
Yes,
we all are doctors and lawyers and engineers, right? So I'm sure you study something proper, right, as part of your education. Exactly. So how did the music and sound engineering become part of your story? Like, where did you?
You know, my father as a doctor, he used to DJ. He had a lot of records and stuff like that. And I wanted to get into music, and I remember clearly and vividly when I decided I want to get into music, because I didn't play an instrument and stuff like that. I didn't know how to get into music. And at the time, I was living in LA for a while, and I was working in LA. And that's where I learned about computing, like in computing, word processing and stuff like that. And then I left LA and I came to London, and I worked for a company called ICL. That was before university, just during my university time. Yeah. So I remember walking into a company called ICL, which now I think it's Fuji or something like Fujitsu. But I walked in there, and I remember clearly there was this box on the shelf called, it was the box for Windows 3.1.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was a keyboard in it, a piano.
Oh, okay.
And I said, because I think computers should be able to play music and stuff, but I never did. But that then, so I did a research, and that's when I found out about something called MIDI interface, MIDI.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. And luckily for me, again, on that day or the next day, on the company notice board, there was a MIDI
training.
No, there was a MIDI module for sale, Yamaha FB01.
Okay.
Right. So I bought that. I said, there's something MIDI. I bought it. I didn't have a clue how to use it. I just bought it.
Yeah.
And then I realized, and then there was something called the Atari.
Yes.
So I bought an Atari.
The video game.
No, the computer, the Atari 1040.
Right.
And it had something called Cubase on there, which was a sequencer.
Yep.
So I bought that, and I bought a keyboard, and that was it. I said, wow. I put some notes in, and it was playing the music. I said, wow, this is cool. And also, like a nerd as I'm at that time, you know, I did research in it, and that's how I taught myself engineering or programming, and then engineering. And then I went to a school called School of Audio Engineering. That was after uni.
Yeah.
And I did that for a year. The reason why I did that, but before that, whilst I was at uni, I had a record label.
Okay.
So, and that's when Warren G came out with this track, this first track.
It wasn't Regulate?
Regulate.
Yeah.
So I used that sample for a hit in London, but then I was actually in Def Jam in New York.
Really?
To go and clear the license.
Okay.
As I was in the lift,
walked
in the Fugees before they were the Fugees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
the Fugees before they were the Fugees.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
And then, not just that, when they came to London, and basically I worked on one track for them as an assistant engineer for Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah,
we did that in Air Studios.
Okay.
So we met again, and they actually remembered me, huh?
Where's Air?
It's in Hampstead. It belongs to Sir George Martin, the guy behind the Beatles.
Got it.
So
Got it. That's why I knew. Heard of it. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
And they remembered you. Well, It was probably a big day for them.
Of course, we in the lift. And obviously we were speaking, and then it was Praz. Was Praz? Yeah, my accent. You're from London? Oh, yeah. So you know, whole thing. Yeah. So it's coincidental that I came back and I met them and there was a guy called Paul Epworth that was supposed to engineer, and he didn't turn up, so they called me in to help engineer the track.
Okay, that's cool. That's very cool. Switzerland. Knowing you, a lot of your sensibilities, I think, are a bit Swiss, right? So how did your family end up in Switzerland?
My father was a doctor.
Okay.
So basically, he was working in Switzerland also with WHO and stuff like that. So So that's how he ended up in Switzerland. And he was also doing his training there, and his thesis, and writing books and stuff like that. So
so the typical go abroad for education story.
He was a gynecologist and stuff. And then, so that's how I ended up in Switzerland. And obviously, at a very early age. So I would say my formative language in terms of schooling was German.
Got it.
Yeah, and then I speak Swiss German, and obviously then being in a trilingual country, you also learn to speak Italian and French.
Right.
Culturally, I had a cultural blast, and then from there, my parents decided to go to Ghana during the Rawlings era.
Oh.
Don't even ask why they went, because it was at the time there was a big famine in Ghana.
Yeah.
They decided to go to Ghana.
Right.
So there is me in Switzerland with my ketchups and chips. Yeah.
Yeah.
They dragged me all the way to Ghana, straight to boarding school. So it was like a shock. And in boarding school that time, there was no food. And you had all sorts of survival tricks. So I literally, yeah. So that's where I think that's where you think about hacking the mindset. How do I hack a mindset to survive in this drastic? Right. But the funny thing is, though, I must admit, which is quite interesting, and I'm not trying to show that I'm like, I was like a genius or clever, but having lived in Switzerland and Germany as a kid, you were exposed to much more at that time. Right. To huge TV stations, this, that, culturally, what you're doing. I mean, I was like skiing, I was rafting, I was doing Robinson Crusoe, going to the forest, building tree houses, understanding, being part of the Scouts, understanding how to survive and, rafting and all kinds of stuff. And you really, as a kid, at that time I was about 12. I mean, the stuff I've seen and the stuff you see on TV, once you come to Ghana, the kids, and they're all exposed to one TV show, with Osofo-Dazi.
Or Inspector Bediako was on at that time.
Or Supu Mugiyaro. So at that time, I think my mindset was that of maybe someone in Ghana who was 18 or 19.
Okay, but you went when you were, say, what, 12?
12, yes.
Got it.
The conversations I could have or I could understand, I could relate to guys who are much older than me.
Got it.
So obviously, being that little smart kid coming to Ghana and got in boarding school, I quickly sort of wittingly applied
your advanced skills.
So I must admit, I had a great time in Ghana and Achimota. I mean, and I was never bullied. I always found my way of getting out of bullying, whether I had to pay my way, bribe my way, whatever. But, and I see some of my mates being in, they went through some really tough time, and I started to wonder how now some of them must have been scarred from what they went through back then.
Got it.
But
and I mean that's par for the course in many boarding schools.
Yeah. I mean, don't think of it. I think boarding school. The first couple of months, I hated my parents for putting me there.
Yeah, of course.
But after that, I'm like, I'm loving this.
Yeah, you're independent at a very young age.
Yeah, you're learning this, and I mean, just leaving school and then back then, trying to make money for places called Tema Station, all kinds of stuff, you just, and your mates, your friends became your family and, and I mean, the kind of people the kind of mates you have in boarding school and everybody coming from not different cultures, but upbringings, like some are very refined, some were not really refined. And you just in the melt of all sorts of upbringing from president's son to diplomat's son, from a foreign person coming in, from someone whose dad comes from a village from Nima, but they have money and they want to play in there. So you have this and you learn how to actually put up with all sorts of characters. You just learn, because if you don't, you won't survive. You just got also. I mean, I'm not even beyond the scope of this, but I could go into some things, and you're like, how in hell,
Thanks for joining us for part 1 of our conversation with Kwame Acheampong. Be sure to join us next time when Kwame will talk more in depth about the technical aspects of his innovative work and more about the life that he's leading as a Glocal citizen. As always, you can catch us at glocalcitizenspod.com and wherever you find your podcasts. Bye for now.